Hey guys, welcome back to Jesse Invests. Today we're going to be looking at my net worth. We're going to look at where I'm at right now, where I am at compared to last month, and take a look at what my debts are, what my assets are, where I put my money, how much I have saved up, and we're going to look at the end, we're going to look at my financial goals for 2025. We're going to see how I'm doing with them so far, where I'm headed, things like that. So let's start with taking a look at this. So we can see here that for the month of May, my net worth came in at $6,259.21 in the positive. Now, even if you're new or whether you've been following for a while, you might see here compared to last month's that $6,000 in net worth is really high. That is almost double the net worth of just last month. We can see right here in May, this is where I'm at. These are the last couple months. Absolutely insane. We're going to look at why I'm that high and see here. Last month, my assets were at 18,000. This month, they're at 21,000. So my investments, my money saved, things like that went up by $3,000 in just a month. That's a big portion of that. And then if we see my liabilities, my debts did not go up. In fact, they went down. Last month I owed 15.6K. Now I have just 15.1K in debt. So with my assets going up by 3,000 and my debt going down by 5, that's why we have such a big difference here. So let's take a look at some things. We can see that, again, like I said, my assets are $3,000 higher than last month. Last month I had $2,300 in the bank. Now I have $3,300 in the bank. So another $1,000 in the bank. That definitely helps. Checking account, though, is $91 in my checking account versus last month's $94. So nothing really. Still have like no money in my checking account. But in my reserve, which is money I set aside for different funds, like if you've heard of you need a budget or anything like that, I do the envelope method when I buy things. So when I get paid, I separate my paycheck into like $100 into electricity bill fund, $100 into date fund, $100 into eating out fund, stuff like that. So I have $1,900 set aside for those things. So a part of this could be that a paycheck fell on the very beginning of May, which I believe it did. So that's why I have so much unspent money in my envelopes. So I'm at $1,900 in the reserve versus $1,000 there. So I'm hanging on to more money. I've spent less on things so far. High yield savings account. This went up by $100, which is nice to see. So that's my emergency fund, my high yield savings account. It's $1,300 instead of last month's $1,200, so a little bit more in there, which is nice. Heading up closer to that $3,000 goal. I added a new column here, which is Robinhood savings, because something I don't want to spend too much time on here. But instead of building my emergency fund in only my high yield savings account, which I earn about a 3.7, I think, or 3.8% interest rate on that money. Robinhood has a promotion where, because I'm a Robinhood Gold member already from investing in them for my Roth IRA, I have a benefit where I can put money into Robinhood and put it into a super safe cash sweep, essentially. A super safe fund that doesn't move, that I can pull money out of and withdraw within a week. So it's not extremely liquid, but still pretty liquid within 1 week's time. I can put my emergency fund in here and withdraw it within a week if I have an emergency. And if I do that, I get the benefit of an extremely high yield. It's like 6% instead of the 3.8. And I think that's something I definitely want to use and take advantage of. And I can explain more about that another time. But so what I'm going to do is the first $3,000 that I save for my emergency fund, I'm going to put into this savings account, the Robinhood savings, and then anything extra I'll have back putting in the high yield savings account, just so I get more interest on it. And I think this will actually help me to not touch it as much because I won't see it as much. So it'll be a little less tempting to pull it out if it's in Robinhood, because it takes a while to get out of that account. Okay, then we have my investments, guys. So last month, my investments were worth 9.5K. Now they're worth 11.1K. So this is another big thing that contributed to my net worth going up so much this month. I invest in a lot of different accounts, and I am married, so I did include my wife's 401k on here. But my 401k went from $500 to $900, so almost doubled in 1 month's time. My 401k is starting to snowball, which is really cool to see. Um, my Roth IRA also went up like $700 from last month. This is also just because the stock market really rebounded. My M1 account went from 2,500 to almost 3K. Bitcoin that I own was worth 286. Now it's worth 350. And my wife's 401k had just $100 in it last month, and now it's got almost 400. So also more than doubled. So that's a big factor in that as well. Properties and cars. My wife and I share one vehicle, which is a 2020 Hyundai Accent. It was worth $5,900 according to things like Carfax, Kelley Blue Book. It was worth $5,900 last month, and now it's worth $5,800. It's falling in value quickly because cars are depreciating assets, but also because we drive the crap out of this thing, and it's probably my biggest financial concern. If I had a financial worry, and I have a few, my biggest one is this car, because it is at about 110,000 miles right now, and since we share it, and we don't just use it for essential driving to work, we use it for everything. We're constantly driving. We're just a type of family that has a lifestyle that really is car dependent. No matter how we try to reduce our commutes, things like that, we just like to get out of the house a lot. So with that, we put on probably 25 to 30,000 miles a year on the vehicle, and it's at 110K. And you're lucky on a lot of cars to get to 200K. So something I'm worried about is that this car we're still paying off for the next 4 years, and at this rate of usage, it will probably last us 2 more years, maybe 3. So I'm scared that the car is going to go out while we still have a payment on it. So that's my biggest financial concern, and that's one of my top priorities here. I want to make sure that I start funneling money to pay off this car. Other assets. Let's look at gold and silver. Last month I had gold and silver worth $1,000. Now I still have it worth about $1,000. Not much change there. I invest in gold. I had $977 worth last month. Now it's $1,000. Not much of a change there. We are at the end of May. When I recalculate for June, this will probably be a lot higher because I know gold's been rising. We also bought a little bit more, so gold, so that will also rise off that. We don't own any silver yet. Graded cards. I have a couple valuable Pokemon cards. I say valuable very loosely because they're only worth $50, but I have a couple graded like baseball cards, Pokemon cards, things like that, worth about $50 right now, so I put that down under collector's items. And then, if you go down to liabilities, let's look at this. I am aware that I'm in a very lucky situation with sharing a car, having 2 income sources, working with my wife working and me working. I recognize I'm in a situation where I don't have very much liabilities compared to the usual person my age. Grand is my liabilities, went down by $500 since last month, paid $500 off. Short-term debts, which is credit cards, $2,300 owed this month instead of $2,200. Okay, I do have a private loan with no interest on it, which is nice, so I'm not in a rush to pay it off. It was originally $3,000 just at the start of this year. It was at $2,000. Now it's at $780. I'm paying about $400 on it a month. It should be completely paid off between July and August. Super excited about that because then it frees up a lot of cash flow. So I can have $200 a month to start putting towards something else. And then these are all my credit cards. Everything I buy, about 95% of the money I spend in my life, groceries, gas, bills, are all on credit cards. So I can maximize credit card rewards. And I have them on auto pay, so once a month, it automatically just comes out of my account. So let's look at long-term debts. This is, we're talking about real debts here. 13.3K last month, now is at 12.8K. Almost $500 less, which is really nice to see. $500 less in debt with $3,000 more in assets equals a net worth of $6,259. We're all the way up here. We shot up like a rocket. This part I love to look at right here. This is my assets versus liabilities. The red, the sea of red is my debt, and the sea of green is my assets. We can see here that my assets and my debt was neck and neck for most of the year, but this started to separate a little bit more here, and now we have a huge, like, not, I wouldn't say huge, but a pretty wide gap between my assets and my liabilities starting in March, and it shoots up even more in May. We now have a really big gap of almost $5,000, you know, $6,000 of assets above my liabilities. So that's really cool. If we look at the assets and liabilities sheets for a lot of companies, we can see that their debts are high above their assets because they spend with a lot of leverage, and then they use assets to pay it back. So this doesn't mean much. It is nice, and if you have a conservative mindset and you look at this and you're like, oh great, my assets are above my liabilities, that is a good thing. It is a good thing, but we also don't want to be too risk adverse at my young age because I am only 24 years old. So like I was saying earlier, there's room for my liabilities to go up with wisdom. No fancy cars, no living outside my means, things like that. But if I wanted to, like I said, add on school, add on a program, maybe go on a trip of a lifetime, while being smart with it, now's the chance to do that because I have that wiggle room here with this big moat. But yeah, that's where I'm at, guys. Let's look at that net worth graph here. We can see April to May shot up like a rocket. That faint green line in the background is my trajectory, which is nice. We passed positive net worth back in October. So we kind of started off 2025 in the positive, which is nice. And we are going up from there. Really nice path. We can see it was kind of stagnant here for many months in 2024, which is interesting. And then when I sold my car, we launched like a rocket into the positives. And then also kind of stagnant. But finally we're heading a little bit upwards with a big push right here in this last month. Now let's look at my financial goals. Right now it's just on a little sheet. I definitely will change this and make it easier for you guys to read. Here soon I'll put it on a spreadsheet. But here are some of my goals. I had a financial goal in 2025 to reach a positive net worth by the end of the year, and I hit that already. I hit that in October as soon as I realized that my car counted as my net worth, like the value of what I could sell the car for. So I reached positive net worth already, so that's really awesome. And then I also added on a goal, an ambitious goal here, of reaching 10K in net worth by the end of the year. I'd like to save $3,000 in my emergency fund. Last video, if you've been following my channel, I said I wanted to hit $2,000. I upped that. Let's get $3,000 in emergency fund. I think that $3,000 is a comfortable number. But saving $3,000 in emergency fund is going to be a nice little comfort cushion while I pour money into reducing my debts. I feel like I get almost as much comfort in lower liabilities than I do in having high emergency fund. Some people are like, oh, I have 10K in debts or 15K in debts or whatever it is, 20, 30K in debts, but I have 20K saved in emergency fund, so I feel good. Great. I feel like I can have a lower emergency fund if I don't have much debt. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like button down below, hit that sub button down below. It's really awesome that my net worth has shot up to 6K. We're headed on the upward trend there. And I'm excited and optimistic, but at the same time recognizing that money is meant to be spent, and by having that net worth go up so early in my life at a rate faster than I expected, it doesn't make me wonder, okay, are there any missed opportunities I might miss? Like a trip. My wife and I never went on a honeymoon. Like, is there a trip I might want to take? Is there, do I want to pay off my car, drain some of my savings, right, to pay off the car, things like that. What can I do with this opportunity, right? So, it's a balance, guys. It's about saving, it's about being frugal, but it's also about how do you make sure that you're still enjoying your life, so responsibly. So, thanks, guys. Tune in to the next video. See ya.